now over 900 women have been murdered, with more than 11,000 raped in the 3 months between October and December of last year. This is according to the latest SAPS crime statistics. These shocking numbers have left many asking themselves if enough is being done to fight what is now being referred to as the second pandemic after the deadly COVID-19. Last year, President Cyril Ramaphosa established the Gender-Based Violence and Femicide Response Fund to tackle the scourge in the country. Now, to find out if the latest efforts and interventions are yielding any positive results in the fight against GBV, I am joined by Tshepo from the Gender-Based Violence and Femicide Response Fund. Welcome to Newsfeed PM, and thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much for the opportunity, and good afternoon to the viewers at home.
Now, Tshepo, what has the Response Fund accumulated so far? We do know that the President had set this up last year already, but what are some of the successes from the fund in as far as where we are now?
I think first off, I'd like to start on the purpose of the fund is really to be the catalyst and accelerate the fight against gender-based violence. And what that basically means is pulling the resources, bringing civil society together, government and the private sector, to gather and collect resources from a monetary perspective, but also bring the best minds together in fighting the scourge. Because we know that as much there has been a lot that has been done on the ground, but there has not been enough resources, and there hasn't been a strategic intent in dealing with the scourge and really arresting it, because we know that the numbers are really unacceptable and at a crisis level. So since the fund was established, last year we went out on a request for proposal where community-based organizations who have already been doing work in various communities across the country needed to put proposals together in terms of their plans and the strategies that they're doing to arrest the scourge, and so that they could be funded from our perspective. And in that request, the fund released 69 million rand to support those community-based organizations across the country. It's the process. We started with just over 400 that had applied, but 110 were selected in all the 9 provinces in the country, and they've been doing work based on really over 2 pillars of the 5 pillars that we have, and that's about prevention and rebuilding social cohesion and justice, safety, and protection. So since then, they have been implementing, and in the month of July, we'll be reviewing and seeing how far they have gotten. But what they have said in the interim is that the awareness of the work that they're doing and putting the agenda of gender-based violence and femicide high up on the national agenda has really assisted, and people are now aware of the work that they are doing. They know where to go, who to call when they need assistance and support. The work is really ongoing, and I think from that perspective, we've barely scratched the surface.
That's so true, because, I mean, we are seeing a very significant increase in femicide and gender-based violence across the provinces. I mean, we've seen the Hillary Gadi murder that happened a month ago. Also, the Singwamtwa, the 35-year-old Eastern Cape woman who was murdered in her driveway by hitmen also about a month ago, who the hitmen have not been found, but we also know that she was in a relationship with someone who had been abusing her for the longest time over the 11 years. Now, you mentioned earlier on that it's not just about throwing money at the problem, but it's putting together the minds that will be able to assist. Who are these minds, and what contributions are they bringing in ensuring that we're not just getting the message across, but that action is actually taking place in ensuring that we lessen the effects of GBV in South Africa?
I think for us, it's putting together all various stakeholders. It's the faith-based organizations, it's youth organizations, civil society, the private sector as well, because we know that abuse is not just limited at the home, but it's happening across the board. So it's about bringing all of those minds in those various sectors, in the labor relations, your labor unions. It's really bringing everybody around the table to say, guys, enough is enough and something needs to be done. And in the time that I have been with the fund, because I started mid-April, what I've noticed, one of the biggest hindrances of gender-based violence and why it's such a scourge is It's the issue of silence. People don't talk, and it has been happening for the longest time. Whether it's at home or whether it's happening on the faith-based side, or even in the workplace. People, the first point of call is to keep it under wraps. And what that has done, it has socialized us to be acceptable of gender-based violence, because it starts small. Sometimes it starts with words, sometimes it starts with grabbing, but it escalates because we don't condemn it. We don't have a zero tolerance, because our actions, we may say in words that we have zero tolerance, but our actions and our intentions are far from expressing a zero tolerance to gender-based violence. So it's very important that we bring everyone around the table to say, what do we need to do from a legislative perspective, from a labor relations perspective, but also in the home. If I'm a child and I see gender-based violence, as a child, do I have the space? Do I know where to go? Or am I going to be made feel to say, actually, no, you can't do that. You have to keep this quiet because we cannot expose the family. It's nobody's business, but we will manage it ourselves. And we know that what it has done, unfortunately, it has socialized to be acceptable of gender-based violence.
It certainly has. Now, you've also just mentioned that you recently joined the GBVF Response Fund, and many have been asking that you having joined as the head of marketing and the brand, what the significance of appointing rather a male to be the mouthpiece and manage the reputation of the institution? Would it not rather be a slap in the face of other female activists that have been at the helm of GBV?
I certainly can see how people, particularly victims, can see from that perspective. But I think as a male, it's very important that as males we stand up and be counted and be part of, because we are the problem, right? We are the abusers. We are the ones that abuse. We are the ones that kill. And we are the ones that are setting an example for the generation that's coming before us. Whether I'm setting an example for my daughter who thinks that me abusing the mother is fine, or my son sees me abusing the mother and thinks that as a man, this is something that I can do. I think it's not a burden that women should carry alone. It's absolutely imperative that as men, we stand up and be counted, because at the end of the day, if we needed to, because one of our pillars talks about prevention. And the only way that you can prevent it is we stop men from abusing women and killing women. So I think it's very important, and I'm only too honored and privileged to be part of this fight, because it's an important one.